ping are finally back with the long-awaited replacement to the i500 irons. Say hello to the i525. The i500, this is a player's distance iron. It's designed with a new ballistic face, and the aim is really to give you more distance and forgiveness, but also keep that level of control. Overall, it is quite a compact design, but we see loads of perimeter weighting, which is going to give you that extra forgiveness and high launch on your shots. We've got a forged maraging steel face. This means it can be made a little bit thinner, which is going to give you more flex and more ball speed to give you that distance you want. Inside the club head, we've actually got a polymer, which is designed to reduce vibrations and give you that really nice sound and feel. You can also see we've got this really nice Hydra Pearl chrome finish, and this is designed to repel water, so it's going to help give you a more consistent strike no matter what the ground conditions are. So first up, I'm going to hit pitch and wedge. I think this test's going to be really interesting because these irons have similar lofts to the clubs that I'm gaming. So in terms of distances, I've got a really nice benchmark there. Now I'd expect my pitching wedge to go about the 120 mark, so I'll be looking for that here today. Now over the ball, there is a bit of difference in shape in here. You do have quite a kind of high toe design, but I guess that links into that perimeter weighting that Ping want to have here. I really like the fact there's very minimal offset, and I also really like the size of the top line here. Really nice high ball flight. Felt pretty controlled too. I actually really liked the sound as well. I wasn't sure if it would feel as good as my irons just because it's a bit bigger at the back, but I actually did really like it. Very consistent in terms of height so far. Yeah, those have both flown up at 105 feet, which is pretty consistent. In terms of distance, they've just flown over just the 120 mark, so that was 120.9, the one before was 122, so pretty happy with that. Dispersion seems pretty good so far too as well. Probably pretty neutral as well down the target line, which I definitely like. Those two shots were so close to each other. Seems very consistent. Now in terms of ball flight, control, distance, I've been really happy with these so far. I'd say the one stat that kind of stands out so far is the spin's a little bit inconsistent, but I'm not really going to go too much into that because we've not got the best conditions. Obviously it's cold, the ground's a bit damp, so that is going to affect that. The spin's averaging about just over the 5,000 mark, but I did have one that dropped down in kind of the 3,000s. But yeah, obviously there's outside variables affecting that, so I imagine in summer it would be a lot more consistent. So overall that's averaged out at 123 distance, which I would be really happy with for my pitching wedge. So let's go up and hit a few 8 irons and then 6 irons and see what the gapping's like through the bag. Now for me, my 8 iron's about my 145 club, but for me these clubs feel quite powerful already, so I'm wondering if I'm going to get a little bit more out of them than that. Over the ball again, the shaping's very similar to what we see with pitch and wedge. There really isn't much offset at all, which I definitely think a lot of better players will really like. Again, really nice ball flight. Very straight and neutral down the target. I would say in this longer iron it probably feels a little bit duller than we saw in the pitching wedge though. Pretty consistent again. Interestingly, the spin hasn't actually dropped off that much compared to the pitching wedge, which is good. Both those shots were in the 5,000s and they've carried up at like the 150 mark, so very good numbers so far. They've been really nice and controlled so far. Like I'm just hitting like a small little draw, which is kind of my stock shot with the irons, but I feel like I can control it and kind of hit that shot shape that I want to, which is obviously really important for that player's style of iron. The height and the ball flight of this has been ridiculously consistent so far. If we look at the numbers, there's only like 3 difference in feet and height between any of those shots, which is ridiculously consistent. Oh, that felt really good. Yeah, that was my longest shot so far, up at the 158 mark. It's pretty long for an 8 iron. So I've moved up into the 6 iron now, and I think versus my gamers, this is where I start to see a bit of a difference in terms of styling. There's definitely a slightly longer toe to heel profile, but then in terms of the offset and the top line, they still look really nice. Now, one other thing is the sole is a little bit thicker as well, so I'm just going to see how that feels through the shots. I could definitely feel it was a bit thicker, but it didn't seem to affect the performance too much. I turned it over a little bit more, but let's hit a couple more and see how we get on. I've still got a really nice high ball flight as well, which I think is pretty important, because obviously there's tech in these to launch it, but you're not going to get that carry distance if you don't have the right launch. And those were flying up like in the 90 feet, so pretty decent. Doesn't particularly feel like it's spinning loads. Yeah, they're kind of in like the 3000s. Obviously, we don't have the best conditions for spin, but that is fairly low for a 6 iron. That felt pretty fast. Yeah, that's flown out like a 182 mark. It's definitely a seriously long 6 iron. The height definitely wasn't quite as consistent as we saw with other shots through the bag, but in terms of distance it was really impressive. I averaged up at 175 with that, and my longest shots were over in the 180s, so that's pretty long for a 6 iron. So overall there, I think there was a really strong story of consistency throughout the irons in terms of kind of spin, ball flight and carry distances. And across the 3, I was really happy with the dispersion. In terms of distance, we had pretty good gapping. The pitching wedge was carrying 123, then the 8 iron was carrying 153, and then the 6 iron was up at the 178 mark. These are definitely good in terms of carry distance for each of those clubs. I'd say maybe the pitching wedge was going slightly shorter compared to the other 2, but I don't think there'll be a massive issue with that. In terms of ball flight and height, I was really happy with the pitching wedge and the 8 iron. In the 6 iron, the height was probably a little bit low. It was kind of in the 90 feet, which I would like to see it a little bit higher. The spin was also a bit low, but I have got a shaft in this which is 10 grams heavier than I would usually use, so that is probably affecting that. Now obviously this is a player's distance iron. The idea is it's easy to control, but they also get distance and forgiveness. From the dispersion and the consistency, I'd be really pleased with this level of forgiveness. The distance was definitely very impressive, and for me, I really felt like I could control it. So I think this club is ticking a lot of boxes. As the i500, I think it's going to be super popular. So make sure you get ready and get fitted and try these out. Right, that's all for today. If you have any questions about these irons, feel free to drop them on the comments below or send me a line on Twitter or Instagram. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications too. And if you're after more golf content, head to the National Club Golfer social media channels for more.